From Perth, Australia, and broadcasting around the world, you're listening to The O Show with your host, Oren McCory. The O Show is a no-nonsense podcast bringing you the best advice on training, mindset, and nutrition to supercharge your efforts in the gym, the kitchen, and most importantly, in your head. Don't forget to share this episode on your social media. Now, let's get to it.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to today's episode of The O Show. And this is a special one. It's the first one of the new year, 2021. We also have a returning guest who was on episode 2. He was the inspiration. We've done a Q&A. So if you go to episode 2, it was a Q&A on Instagram, which afterwards I was like, you know what? I fucking enjoyed that. Think I could do a podcast? And he talked me into it. So here we are. This is episode 33. So what's that? 31 episodes later, and we have a returning guest. We have Mr. Chris Bradley, aka the Glasgow PT. Welcome.
Hello, man. Hello, people. Hope
it's awesome to have somebody who's very versed in podcasting again, but also somebody I've got quite a big background with. Obviously, best man at my wedding. We worked together for 3 to 4 years.
Yep.
And like I said, was the inspiration for the year. So I wanted to get a returning guest on. I wanted somebody who was going to motivate. Good topic to talk about. Who better than to get my man Breezy back on?
Yeah, mate, it's good to be back. There's been a lot of episodes. Good to see how consistent you've been with it. I remember we spoke about it briefly, and we kind of looked at, right, once you get past, apparently 7 episodes is the point you get to where it's either going to flop or progress, and it looks like it's progressed, mate. So I've seen you've had some good guests on in the past, so it's good to be invited back.
Absolutely,
I must have done a good job.
Well, the first one went down pretty well. A lot of people still say that it was one of their favorite ones, and it was just a simple Instagram Q&A. I think there was a bit of humor in there, a bit of content. It was very relevant with lockdown. So yeah,
we've got an even better one lined up today, mate. So
that's it, mate. That's it.
Chat to you, mate. You know, it's like being across the other end of the world and stuff. It's difficult to, and then everybody's just cracking on with our things. So it's like sort of serving their team and stuff. So it's always good to hear your big voice, man.
Absolutely. And we did catch up for half an hour before this. So that shows you how the conversation's going to go. We just felt like we were talking for like 2 minutes there. And it's like, oh shit, we may start recording this podcast now. So guys, what we're going to talk about today is obviously me and Chris work in similar realms with body transformations, fat loss, muscle gain. People who come to us, they want results, okay? We've got slightly different niches, we've got slightly different teams, different ways we go about things. But the slightly clickbaity title of this podcast is going to be Don't Listen to the Bodybuilders. And why, if you're an average person listening to this, what are the things you need to do and what you need to sort of throw out that might be a bit too extreme for you and your circumstances. So Chris, before we get into that, let's just talk about, like, when people come to you, like who is your normal client and what do they want to achieve when they come to you to start with?
Typically females, mate, ranging from ages 20 to 40, 45, kind of is the majority of my clients and the people who reach out. I would say the most common is mid-20s to early 30s is probably the sweet spot. But no, mate, I guess it's just people come to me. Obviously, I do a lot of transformations. I do a lot before and after. So people tend to come off the back of one I've posted or a friend that has shown them their progress and stuff. So that's the type of people that I tend to attract. And it comes with a bit of pressure, but it's one that I welcome because people come and, you know, immediately they're like, right, I want to be your next transformation. So a couple of ways with that is just making sure the person's doing it for the right reasons and not for a before and after pick. Second of all, it's right, okay, then if that's what you want, then here's what we need to do. And I'm sure we'll cover this today, mate. But I think framing expectations and setting a standard for the person to progress into the different stages of the journey, mate, because everybody's different. There is no blueprint. There is no, come on in, this is what's going to happen week 2, week 3, week 4. But we've gotten pretty versed, I'm sure you have as well, mate, of getting the client on board, understanding why exactly they're doing it. Because we're not just, right, pay the money. Here's a plan, crack on. It's understanding. I know it sounds quite cheesy and typical, but we need to understand why this person's doing it. You know, one of the amazing things is we get people who are of an age that use Instagram and definitely showcase their progress, which is great for marketing. It's great for the person's journey. But like I say, it also comes with its downfalls because the person might just be too focused on their image. And, you know, if you asked me 2.5, 3 years ago, I probably wasn't even aware of that. I was just like, right, next one, let's do it. I mean, it's all ethical. It's not, let's get you in, let's starve you, let's get you doing cardio and let's get a transformation. But I definitely think in my earlier days, it was, right, let's get another one, let's get another one. And as we've grown and Cheryl's come on board and I've trained a ton more clients, it's finding that sweet spot into it, mate. It's because I know you do a ton of transformations as well, and we've got a duty of care as a coach that the client's progress comes and the client's mindset comes first before any image does. So, yeah, mate. But I'm also a big believer, and people deserve results. You know, I'm sure we'll touch on this again, mate. But people deserve to get to where they want to be, and like some people come and go, oh, do you know what? I'm going to back off the diet this week because this and that. And sometimes they've got legitimate reasons, mate. But other times it's like, I would expect my coach to challenge me on that and go, you can still stick to your nutrition. You know, granted, you maybe can't get a babysitter this week. So you may have a tough time getting some sessions in, but we absolutely know you can dial nutrition in. So it's not just, let's put our goals on hold for a week.
Yeah.
And I think with your experience and now my experience, we can sort of really put the foot down or we can take the foot off the gas. And it takes a good coach to really know when to press that. And sometimes you'll piss some clients off, but other times they'll thank you for it in the end because they're a step closer to their goals.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the other side of that is we obviously mentioned how they might not be able to train, but they can stick to their food. And seeing if they've got like a night out coming up, they can go out and enjoy their night out in terms of go out for a meal with their husband, their wife. They can go for a wedding. They could go for whatever the big occasion is and relax on their food a bit, but maybe they went and trained that day or they've already done all of their 5 training sessions for the week. There's always some sort of workaround, but 9 times out of 10, all it takes is just reaching out or maybe on the check-in. Hey, anything else I need to know about this? Okay. They fill in that box saying, yeah, this is coming up. What do you recommend? Or they drop you a little message saying, hey, I've got this thing on this weekend. What do you think? You know, give you time to actually, rather than the day of the event being like, oh, I forgot to tell you, I'm going here. I'm going to be drinking. Like, what should I do to like manage this? It's like, well, it's a little bit late now. Like, give you a bit of a heads up. There's always a workaround. There's always something that we can do. And we're always willing to help to do that as well. Because it puts a client's mindset in a certain frame where, okay, I know if I just do this, Chris just said, if I train my 5 days this week and have good, then I can relax on Saturday at the wedding, or I can relax and have a meal out with my partner and not have to fucking count calories and have kind of starter, main course, dessert. Maybe I'll go home and I'll have a second dessert, but Chris told me I can relax for that one night. So it's fine, you know, and they've nailed everything that week. There's always something they can do. And I think it's just that open communication, and that comes down to the client as well, but also with the coaches, so that we are seen as being approachable and open enough that they can say, well, I want to go out and enjoy myself this weekend. What do I need to do? Yep,
exactly, bro. And it's spot on, because we have a video on the VIP site, and I'm sure you'll have something very, very similar, where if someone says to Oren on the Sunday or the Saturday check-in, look, Oren, as you know, I've got a wedding at the weekend, or I've got plans. And my video is actually called Got Plans, because that's what they say. They go, I've got plans. And I go, right, we'll watch the Got Plans video. And it basically just gives a framework to go, right, here's what you're going to do all week, so that come Saturday, you're going to feel and look your best, less bloated. And you're also going to have it guilt-free, which in turn is going to make you a happier person, which in turn is going to make you nicer to be around, especially for your partner or your family. Yeah. So like Oren alluded to, there's people who don't have that touch point and that, you know, what would I do? That's where you've got to reach out. That's where, because, you know, our guys have got a plan for that. And I'm not going to give it away. You probably need to reach out to Juanes to find out that secret plan. But you're right, mate. Communication is key with that. And it takes a while for even clients, mate. You'll know yourself. Some clients just sometimes suffer in silence because they're so used to doing it themselves that they think they sometimes don't really realize the scope of how much we're there for them. And I sometimes get worried in the first 30 days when a client's not asking questions. Sometimes I'm like, are you okay? You sure you're okay? And they're like, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm like, And we could dig deeper. We can ask certain things, because typically if someone's just starting out their journey and you give them a nutrition protocol and they don't ask any questions, they're either literally following it to the absolute black and white, or they're just being proper lackadaisical with it. They're not tracking sauces, or they're having all sorts of, sugary drinks. Yeah. Whereas I like when a client says to me, Chris, am I allowed Pepsi Max? And I'm like, yes. But that sort of question speaks volumes, I feel, because they're actually asking that type of question. And that's where we as coaches can go be like, absolutely. It says on the nutrition plan, it's sugar-free drink. Just be careful it doesn't affect your hydration, like if your water intake. But yeah, mate, I think that's a big one, is communication. And I always feel, and I'm not trying to plug coaching here, I'm just trying to say that I feel sorry for people who don't have that touch point, because it can be overwhelming as hell, especially, and that's why people get so much guilt as when they've got something on, and that's how they end up back to square one, and inside their head just gets scrambled when it comes to the whole process.
Yeah, 100%. And I think something you said when we were running through the startup, which just stuck in my head, you were talking about managing expectations. And I think a lot of that comes down to the communication from the client at the start of what their expectations are, what they want to actually achieve. It's up to us to make sure that they're setting a big enough goal, but not sort of setting so big a goal that they expect the whole world now, So in terms of managing expectations, so when somebody comes to you at the get-go, say that your average female client, they've got a normal body transformation goal. What is the actual goals they normally want to achieve, and how do you manage that and put like a framework or a roadmap together for them to get that result?
Yeah, mate, typically it's body composition. It's usually fat loss. It's usually confidence is pretty low in comparison to previous years. Maybe had a baby, maybe had a bad relationship. So they come bloated, low in confidence, and pretty lacking in knowledge, mate, I would say. Because I say that because in comparison to how they'll feel in 3 months with knowledge, at the very worst, any good coach like us, like you, Oren, where when we frame it 90 days, at the very least, they'll be more knowledgeable by 90 days. That's the very least. And then on top of that, it's going to be some changes, provided the work's been put in, provided we've found the right plan, and provided it's the right time, mate. You know yourself, you get some clients, the plan is good, their effort's good, their ambition's good, they're ready to rock. But sometimes it's just bad timing. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people deem that as a failure, but really it's just you're still more knowledgeable. So for me, that is a big win, because knowledge is power. It's just maybe wasn't the right time because your surroundings, your workplace, stuff that maybe, I mean, you're in control of a lot of stuff, but sometimes there's just wee things that mount up that make you feel as if you're not in control. So it's about framing it, mate. One of the biggest things that I always do when it comes to someone starting Oren is I like to preempt the journey. I like to predict the future, and everybody's different. I get that. But when you frame a 12 weeks, and again, like I say, this isn't the Bible, but if I do photos every second week with my client, I know that by week 2, they're going to take photos and 2 things are going to happen. One of 2 things is going to happen. They're going to think, I'm already seeing some changes here. I'm already, bloat's been reduced. The waist is coming in slightly. By no means is that massive before and after. But if that doesn't happen in the photos, then we know that, look, when you first got on the phone to me 2 weeks ago, you weren't even tracking food. You weren't even getting your steps in. Your sleep was all over the place. Your caffeine intake was through the roof. We've brought those metrics back in. And then another thing and then the second thing that can happen from that is I don't see any changes. And that's where we as coaches say, look, the photos are for my benefit. I know what I'm looking for. Look, I'm not being funny or cheeky, but I've seen many bodies in my time before and after. So I can see some things. I can see that your belly button looks slightly different than what you want. And let's face it, mate, they're typically harsher on themselves. They're always harsh. Me and you know that we've had clients having a ridiculous before and after, and they still feel like the left picture. So it's framing it in the 2-week mark to go, look. And not only that, mate, see when you write that down in some sort of training video that you get them to watch on the onboarding, that speaks volumes for you as a coach, that you're confident, by the way, by week 2, we'll see some changes, some reduction in bloat. And it reaffirms their faith to go, do you know what? I'm going to stick to this then, because they can see the small picture. And as much as we don't want to sort of promote short-term results, Oren, we still want people to get results. We still need to see some bang for their buck, and it can happen. It really can. And obviously it boils down to them willing to put in the work. We know that. But as a coach, I'm like, look, follow this. And by week 2, you'll start to see some changes. And I think the 4-week mark is usually a really good marker, mate. I think that's where you can see some good changes in pictures. You might see 2-3 inches off below your belly button, or wherever you kind of hold your blow. It might be your waist. And then again, we just frame the bigger picture, which isn't just the photos, but you can see how the photo becomes the centerpiece. Because people are visual, mate. Let's be honest. They like to see some stuff. And when you put the before and after together, and if there's not changes, we address it. We also celebrate the other stuff. Like, look, that's now 4 weeks of you going to the gym 4 times a week. That's more than you went in the last 6 months. That's a big, big win. You've also watched 4 videos on the client lab, which is knowledge, which is great, but give you some homework. You're also engaging in the group. So you're taking the use of the accountability and the peer accountability, and you're showing that you're part of a team now. You've tried 4 of the recipes in the recipe book. Like, we've seen some really good changes here. Remember, I do this for a living with your photos, but the number one priority is you being happier and healthier, and celebrating the stuff in life. You're now more comfortable in front of the missus when you get changed, or in front of your partner when you get changed.
Yeah.
And it's important to frame that, mate, because we do, like I said at the start of the podcast, we do get people coming, one, wanting short-term results, quick, fast, because fitness has just got that attached to it. But also, too, people don't really know the other stuff. They don't know that, like I said, like making homemade meals is a big win. Like, it is for some people. Cooking a dinner 3 times a week can be a big step for some people. And that's where, as a coach, we meet them at that level. If I come to you, Oren, you would say to me, I expect more than 3 homemade meals to be made, because that's where you've met me. You know that I'm already doing that. So it's about meeting the client where it is, but I also love to frame expectations, because it makes the client go, right, not only can I see potential future results here, but he's got a high standard here already from the get-go. And then you could go up to as far as week 6, week 8, week 12. It really depends on the client. But I think framing it is one of the best frameworks that we can do as a coach and client for each other to get expectations. And it could just be week 6 as well, where you go, look, this isn't actually picture focused. This is going to be you putting me on the limelight. Have I done enough for you? What more do you need? Is there any part of the plan that you're just not getting? And I mean, that'll be addressed at check-ins anyway, but that would be the best advice I would give anybody, mate, is what do you expect over the next 12 weeks, right? Let's map it out. And it might not go exactly to plan, but it's a ton better than let's just see what happens. You know, so that's what I would think, mate.
Yeah, man, that's been awesome. That's like really deep into like managing expectations along the way. But I guess a big bit of it as well, I was thinking about as we went through, is we got to manage what they expect when they come into the program. Because if you look on Instagram, right, most people will run a 12-week, 90-day program as an initial sort of, that's the minimum time you're going to see results. Nobody's coming in. No coach is going to sell a 4-week program monthly. That's a waste of the client's time, waste of our time. But 90 days, you can start to see these results. If you think about it, that's only a quarter of your year. But you think about these mad results that you see, and again, keeping with the title of what we should throw out from the bodybuilders, most people will do a 12-week cut, like guys who are probably enhanced or females who are already used to tracking their calories. They're already in a lean position with muscle. They've stayed relatively lean in their off season since their last show or photo shoot. And they do these epic 12-week cuts. And yes, I've done 12-week cuts. I've done 16-week cuts. I think I've done a 24-week cut before. But people see these shorter term ones and they think, oh, well, fuck, can I do that in 12 weeks? And I think it's just managing that if they're signing up for 90 days, it might not be where you can go from being slightly lean and a bit sort of rough around the edges to being photo shoot ready in 12 weeks. It might be where you need to sit down and say, okay, well, you might be able to get photo shoot ready, but let's look at a 6-month goal or a 9-month goal. Like 6 months is still only half of your year. Like for you to get what? Increased confidence, leaner, more muscular, feel good in the clothes, get that va-va-voom back in the bedroom, whatever it is that they're after. like 6 months of your life. Like, think of how long they probably felt like shit. It's probably took them at least a year, if not longer, to feel like this. And now maybe they've felt like this for 3 years, 4 years. They've felt like this since their wedding day. It doesn't really matter. Then they expect to get this in 12 weeks. And it's like, well, hang on, let me manage this a bit, because that's not going to happen. You're far away from that. And you need to let them know, well, hang on, this is where I think we should aim for. And while 90 days might be the start point, we're going to reassess the goals after those 90 days, because then we're going to see how close we are to photo shoot. Can we book then a photo shoot in the 12 weeks after that, or the 6 months after that, and then go from there?
Yeah, totally, mate. I totally agree with you, because in my earlier days of coaching, I would put up 8-week transformations, and, you know, they're great. They're great for the client. They're great to see that things are moving well. And it's also really good for them to get a buy-in to the process. But now it's minimum 12 weeks. I'll put up the 90 days to see where we're at. But like you mentioned, mate, you go from starting point A to C if in 12 weeks. You don't go to Z. You know, it's your first time dieting. Like, you just need to look at Oren and I's pictures over the years and see that it takes a hell of a lot of time. And then when we're not on it, it's harsh as hell. So 6 months is a really good marker, because let's face it, guys, listening to this, how long have you been eating shite and how long have you been poorly training? A long time. Typically, people come and they've not trained for a year. Some of them have never trained. Some of them have like very limited muscle mass, and they come and it's, what do you expect? It's like, it's that whole thing about, you know, you walk 5 miles into the trees. Like, you need to walk 5 miles back. Like, it's as simple as that. So framing expectations, I'm big on getting really quick early wins. And there's a lot of great coaches out there who highlight those wins. Because like I say, this is all alien to them, mate, you know, and thankfully steps has become a big thing that we're all promoting, getting out walking. That's something that hopefully when everything gets back to normal, most of the world will start implementing that really good habit in life that us as coaches have been preaching for a long time. So yeah, mate, I think you're absolutely spot on. 90 days is a great marker, but everybody listening to this needs more than 90 days, whether that's 12 weeks, 4-week diet break, back to maintenance. And are you ready? Are you in the position for another 12? Then let's go. Because that's only fat loss. You know, when it comes to muscle mass, it's solid. Yeah. So, we need a year if you want to put on a good bit of muscle, that's for sure, unless you're an absolute newbie. But even then, it's going to take some time and dialed in nutrition.
Yeah, 100%. And like, people don't need to be a robot. There's also like the whole thing of most bodybuilders going through a prep would literally eat fucking cardboard and sandpaper if they needed to get on stage in that condition. And that's fine if that's what they want to do. And I've been in those positions where I've literally been like a fucking robot, but like felt like shit at the end of it. Most people don't want to go to the level that's needed. When you get that lean, your body starts fighting against you. You want to have a bit of flexibility in your life. You don't want to be fucking eating out of Tupperware for every meal. You don't want to be counting your sauces on every meal. Yes, it's needed to get absolutely shredded. But for the average person who just wants a body transformation or to get lean, like a flat stomach or leaner than they got for their last photo shoot, like they don't need to have veins and fucking deep ab separations and everything else. Like, if they look like a roadmap, there's probably something gone wrong there, because they're coming for a Gen Pop transformation. Probably something good, I would say, in the coaching if they do a 12-week or whatever and they end up getting shredded. But most people will come to you and they'll not want that. And like, you need to give them like what they need with what they want as well, and just manage expectations, like you said, along the way, and make sure that they're not pushing to like unrealistic levels. Just remind them of their goals. Well, hang on, you said you wanted a flat stomach. It's great if they want to push past that, but recognize, well, hang on, you're pretty much there. Like, you're pretty much as lean as you would have guessed you wanted to be at the start of this. So let's reassess the goals. And if it means you stay around this or you push for more, that's okay. But just remember what you have to probably sacrifice. It's like a trade-off. Really strict versus flexible. You probably want to meet somewhere in the middle, around that 70% mark for the sweet spot, rather than be so restricted that then you end up binging. You end up coming back to me or Chris afterwards because you've had a blowout. You put all the fat back on because you went too hard too soon or too hard for too long, and then it's negatively affected you too.
Mate, that's spot on. And that's like you mentioned there, that sweet spot. And that's something that, let's face it, most of the females that come to us, they want bigger glutes, they want bigger quads, they want bigger shoulders. Make no mistake about it, bodybuilding is the best way of training and nutrition for building muscle and getting absolutely shredded. It's the best way. They're the best at it. It's a fact, right? That's why it's called bodybuilding. So we need to take shades of that as coaches to go, right, what are they doing so good? And then we need to find that sweet spot in the middle for the client, because the sets and reps and the training systems that they've got are the best at building muscle. The variation from the higher reps to low reps to the heavy, and they train really, really hard. Let's be honest. Let's not talk about being assisted or whatever else. They are the best at building muscle. So we can't shy away from that. We can't go, but I don't want to be a bodybuilder. It's like, no, but we still need to take shades of their training. We don't have to track the way they weigh out every gram of rice, but we certainly need to reduce the margin of error that we do as general population clients of just portion control all over the place. So we need to find that sweet spot in the middle. And sometimes we have to disappear away from it. We have to go back to really flexible. Sometimes if you want a credible physique and you want to document your journey, you need to go past the halfway point. Absolutely. Oren's done the photo shoot with the team, and some of them had to dig deep. It wasn't about, just that's fine. Okay, I take a rest today. It's like, no, have you done your cardio? Have you done, to be honest, mate, you shouldn't even ask if nutrition's been on point, because it should be if you're going to be closer to the bodybuilding margin.
Yeah.
And for some people, especially as you get more experienced, you have to get closer to that bodybuilding marker. You really do. And I'm not saying get to the point of 5% body fat. That's stage, guys. That's the top part. I'm saying you can't have a slip up for at least 3 to 4 weeks. You might incorporate some sort of off-plan meal and things like that. You might have a carb up if it's for a photo shoot and it's a lifestyle photo shoot. Again, this is all dependent on the person and the individual listening to this. But if you want an incredible physique, you want to build incredible muscle, like forget about nutrition, you have to go to failure. You have to fuel your body after your workout. If you want the quads to grow, if you want your shoulders to grow. So is it perfect for the 1 year in Gen Pop person? Absolutely not. We can reduce the margin of error just by stop having a takeaway at the weekends. That's already going to reduce your calories. We can get you to walk in your lunch break. That's already going to increase your output. But make no mistake about it, as you get a year, 2, 3 years in, when our body's really used to weight training, we need to create a new stimulus. So we need to push past the boundaries, both nutrition and training. So I'm just siding with the bodybuilders here that if you want incredible physique, you need to meet it somewhere. Yep, but for the majority of listening to this, you've got so many stones you've unturned. You're still pouring sauces all over your food. You're still saying yes to every possible event, every possible takeaway. You're still not adhering to your training. A lot of people are like that, mate. They have one really good week and go, right, I've had a great week. And I'm like, we need 14 days, 21 days of that. Like, we really do, because the body's so harsh. It's like you say, mate, we don't want to diet. We want to be comfortable. We want to be warm. We want to keep fat. So we need to, at the end of the day, whatever you're doing, if you want to get to the next level, you need to push past what you're doing. It's as simple as that. So that's just both sides of looking at it, mate, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I agree that, although this is a clickbaity title and like why you should ditch the bodybuilding approach, a lot of it does still need to be rooted in, like you said, they're the leanest, biggest guys in the world for a reason. They know how to push their body past the point of out of their comfort zone to the point of failure and become the fucking freaks that they are, right? But we do need to meet them in the middle. I've got a slide on one of my lab videos, which is about flexible dieting, and it's like scale of 1 to 10. And most people think flexible dieting means, if rigidity is here on 0 and flexible is here on 10, they think that fucking like number 8 is like closer to the flexible side, is the what flexible dieting is. In reality, it's probably closer to the 2, where 80% of it is fucking rigid and the 20% is the flexible bit. You know what I mean? So it's still having all those habits in place, but you don't need to be 100% on it all the time. I think striving for perfection, as anyone who's Gen Pop or, just looking to lose fat, if you're trying to get lean, you need to be fucking probably 100% on it. If you're lean and you're pushing for leaner, then yes, you do need to do that. But for the average person, if you try to be too rigid, it's going to cause you to absolutely bottom out. Think of where we are now in January. Most people will sign up to a gym and they'll go gung-ho. They've went from being at Christmas where they've went, right, well, fuck it, let's relax for pretty much all of December, right? Let's be honest. Most people do, or to slack off, start to taper their sessions down, maybe a few retreats sort of click in here and there. But then they go to January and it's like, oh, I feel like shit. Let's sign up to the gym. Let's do 7 cardio sessions a week, as long as 7 weights, and eat fuck all food. And then all of a sudden they're wondering why 2-3 weeks in they give up on their resolution, because it's like they went too much too soon. It's been that all or nothing mentality. And I think meeting somewhere in that middle, where if you're going for that 80% flexibility, like there's no reason why you can't have 20% of your favorite foods in. Like, fuck it, you just need to watch your stories to see the meals you be cooking. And it's like, it's not 100% on all the time. But guess what? That one thing where you might have like some sauces, some curries, maybe some different meats or different things added in. Yeah, it might be higher fat in one meal, higher carb, but then the rest of the day, you might be eating pretty lean. You might have really good choices in through the day, but there's no reason why you can't have that. Same with your mindset. If it's one meal on the weekend for a cheat meal, you've had 5 meals a day, 6 days of the week, and you think your Saturday night one meal is going to fucking set you off. There's something wrong. Like, it's not going to be that big of a deal, really, in the scheme of things.
100%, bro. Yep.
So what else should we throw out? If we're talking about stuff that people think, what about the reliance on cardio or training to failure? I'll let you pick your choice of one of the two. Like, that's something that probably comes from bodybuilders again in show prep. They're doing cardio every day because they need to get absolutely, excuse the term, ladies, but dick skin shredded, right? They want to be like veiny, like no skin left. Like, they want that goal. So they're hitting cardio every day to burn more calories. But what do you think for the average person with cardio?
Mate, so if we take the normal world, right? So if we take the gyms are fully open, everybody's back to work, and it's a normal world. We have one side of the fence on cardio where typically over the years, people are smashing it too much. They're doing far too much. They are normally masking a bad diet. 100% they're masking a bad diet. And they're also masking the lack of knowledge. Let's face it, when a female typically goes, males as well, but I focus on females. So when they walk in a commercial gym, the likelihood of them going to try weights is very unlikely until they've had a coach or they've had someone show them the basics. So what they tend to do is just stick to cardio. They'll do 10 minutes on the bike, they'll do 10 minutes on the Stairmaster, 10 minutes on the treadmill. So, and that's fine. They're here at the gym. There's no slagging that. They're physically move their bodies. That's great. But when we talk about if they have this certain goal, it's not optimal. So we need to look at going, right, you want to build muscle, you want to be more toned, as they call it, you want to lose fat. How about you do weight training, which is a lot more fun? You can't build muscle on cardio. So you can actually build muscle here with these weights. And it also is just fun. It's a great way to blow off steam. So we look at the benefits of weight training. So you got that side of the fence. Then there's the side of the fence who don't do cardio at all. You know, you get quite a lot of bodybuilders, especially male bodybuilders, who will literally starve themselves so they don't have to do any cardio. Yeah. We know that the best bodybuilders in the world will get their hood up and crack on and do their cardio. So there's both sides of the fence, mate. I think that there's also a lot of the people, general population that are in gyms, males, females, who their cardiovascular health is shocking. They may drink at the weekends, they may do other stuff, and really they can't run the length for themselves. And I was one of them a couple of years ago, mate, to be perfectly honest. Like, I loved football. I played football for years. And then I kind of went bro on my training and just went, I want to build muscle. I'm going to eat hundreds of calories. And I knew I had to do something like that to get to my goals. But the breathing aspect is unacceptable no matter who you are. If you can't breathe, if you can't run around with a kid at the park, if you can't go up the flight of stairs in your house before going out of breath, we need to address that. 5 reps or bench press isn't going to address that. So again, there has to be context for where you're at in your journey, but I would go as far as saying every single person needs cardio. Mm-hmm. Now, it's like bodybuilding when we take shades of that. Any extreme's bad, mate. Any extreme being far too flexible is bad because you're going to be in a surplus. Any extreme of doing too much cardio and promoting cardio is going to make you have a bad relationship with it. It's going to make you need it and rely on it. It's also going to make you think you can get away with murder with your food, which again is just going to create all kinds of poor relationships with your process. So there's both sides of it. It's about, like, I think I could call anybody out on exactly where they're at and what they're lacking with it. So, you know, and I'm not saying that when people think of cardio, they think 35, 45 minutes on a treadmill. It's not that. You know, we know that you can do some high impact stuff. You can do functional stuff. When you're a bodybuilder on one end of the scale, they're not going to be doing functional stuff because their training is so rigid that it's going to be too high impact on their knees, and they're not going to recover that well. Plus the fact that that's not their goals. So it's aesthetic based. Mm-hmm. But again, we go back to the scale, mate, of bodybuilder, Gen Pop. We need to be in there in the middle. If you get to 12 reps on a seated shoulder press and you're out of breath, gasping, we've got a problem. So we need to incorporate steps. You know, steps isn't classed as cardio because it's neat, but it definitely is. It gets your heart rate up. It's, if you all of a sudden walk on a hill, that's an incline walk. That's a cardio. Yeah. So I think over here in Glasgow, one of the biggest things that's happened now, because all we could do is walk, people are up mountains and they're walking more than ever they've ever done, right? And I hope to God that it keeps up. And I got a shock. We went a community walk with our clients and I was struggling up that hill, and it just shows you, and oh, but I can deadlift 200 odd. It's like, who cares, mate? Like, you're into your 30s now. You need your heart and lungs to be healthy. So to say, I'm not sure if that's the answer people were expecting, but one of the biggest things I do when people first start out, mate, if it's a normal world, I mean, right now it'll be walking, but I'll give people a basic sort of training plan, weight training plan. There's videos supported with it, but I'll also include the cross trainer. I'll also include the incline walk. Why? Because I know it's going to take a while to build up some good habits with steps, because in a normal world, mate, people work 9 to 5, they get on the train, they get off, they sit at their desk for 8 hours, they get back on the train and they go home. So if I was to give somebody, for example, an upper body plan, seated shoulder press, side raises, seated row, and their goal is fat loss, the likelihood of them causing enough stimulus and calories burned by doing just small muscle groups like that is very unlikely. They're not going to burn a lot. So I like to include something like, it could be incline walk. And it's not the best, but it's going to get the person's heart rate up. It's going to improve their cardiovascular fitness. And most importantly, it's going to make them sweat, which in turn is going to eventually, hopefully, make them lose some fat or feel better within the next couple of days or week 2 check-in, like I mentioned earlier. So I think you've got to look at it and go, where do I stand in this? Be perfectly honest with yourself. Am I too reliant on cardio? Do I need to fix my nutrition? Or am I not doing enough and can I run the length for myself? Yeah. Am I having sex and having to tap out after 2 minutes? And that's not even it. And that's not for finishing. That's because you're tapped out. So we might need to look at that, maybe do some conditioning drills that replicate it, maybe some hip thrusts, 3 sets of 20.
Tap it at hip thrust, mate, right? But yeah, there's so many valid points in there, buddy. And I think whether it's Gen Pop or whether it's the bodybuilders, like, keeping a little bit of cardio in doesn't need to be hours of cardio, but if it's something that's going to keep you breathing right, it's going to carry over to how you use your food. It's going to carry over to body fat levels. It's going to carry over to overall fitness. It's also going to mean that when you got jump on the hack squat or whatever to do a set of 8 to 12, you're going to be able to breathe better because your fitness is higher. So that one set of 3 plates aside is going to be a little bit easier. So then maybe you can go 3.5, 4 plates because you can actually handle the cardiovascular and you're not breathing out your arse at the fucking top of every rep, right? So that one set might become a breeze because you can actually handle it cardio-wise, and then you can actually put more weight on, which might be the challenge you need for your legs to grow. So it's all those little things you need to think of, even if you are a bodybuilder and you're just avoiding this. Because like Breezy said at the start there, the best bodybuilders in the world are the ones who just put their hood on and get on with the fucking cardio, right? So, and they do it for multitudes of reasons, not just calories. So, mate, there's been tons in there. I don't know. I can't even summarize how much it is. So I'm gonna put that job on to you. If you're talking about Gen Pop transformations, people who come to you, what's the top 3 things you'd like for them to do? Say in their first 90 days, somebody comes to you, hey, Chris, I want to lose 10 kilos of fat. I feel like shit. My confidence is low. I want to look good in that dress. I want to build some muscles overall. What are the first 3 things you're tackling, or what are the 3 most important things for their transformation?
Mate, first of all, I'm big on this, and it can come across as just pessimistic and stuff, but reducing the margin of error, like, it sounds so simple, but it's a bit like, let's just be less wrong. Like, we know that MyFitnessPal or whatever tracking app you use can be very very misleading. It can be very difficult to get used to it, right?
Yep.
There's stats out there that typically show we underreport our calories, even when tracking, by about 30%. So you can see there, guys, that even when you're trying to be good and really track, it's probably still wrong. Yeah. It probably is, because, you know, over here, you look at 100 grams of chicken in Sainsbury's, 100 grams of chicken in Tesco, and 100 grams of chicken at Asda. And MyFitnessPal, they all give 3 different measurements. And that's free. Right. That's chicken breast, 150 grams. No, 100 grams, sorry. So, and that's something small. That's just protein. So what's happening with higher stuff, like fatty stuff, that's going to shoot your calories through the roof? So immediately what I do is go, let's reduce the margin of error. And I use an example, like for someone who has a chippy on a Saturday and a Chinese on a Sunday, let's just take away the Chinese and replace it with a fake away. Yeah. Okay, we're starting to stall our progress here. Things are plateauing a wee bit. Let's take away that on a Sunday. Let's go back to our main meals. And then eventually we can look at reducing the margin even more as our body adapts, as we start to hit plateaus. Mm-hmm. And one of the best things that does for us, mate, is it gives us more tools to play with. You know, when we get to check-in and everything's been adhered to, we can throw another tool. And the other tool might be more steps. It might be less food. It might be a wee bit more, another training day. It could be any of these stuff. But when we start off, here's your cardio, here's your calories cut in a deficit. As you know, Big O, we then struggle with tools to play. When a client comes to us doing hundreds of cardio, low calories, we need to build that back up, because it's like we don't have any aces to play when things get tough. So I think reducing the margin of error, and as soon as people get in that head, they go, look, all we're trying to do is just get a bit better with training and nutrition. So margin of error could be get a Fitbit, you know, get an Apple Watch. Okay, you heard that your walk around the park was, 15 minutes, but when you actually put your Apple Watch on, it was 15 minutes, but it was like 800 calories, 1,000 calories, 1,000 steps. Yep. So we might look at that and go, there you go. So you thought that your commute on the train, which people aren't doing now, and then your commute back home, your walk to the train station, and then your walk with the dog when you finish work, we're only about 2,000 steps here. So straight away, we've reduced the margin of error and go, we need 4,000, we need 5,000, we need 6 as it goes on. So again, reduce the margin of error in all aspects: steps, sleep. Could we get a sleep tracking app that, okay, it might be a bit inaccurate, but it will definitely tell you when the spikes during the night is happening. It might tell you that you're only getting 4 hours of solid deep sleep or 2 hours. So we might need to look at our sleeping environment. We might need to look and go, right, what's happening with your coffee? When are you having your last coffee? What's happening? What's on your mind when you go to bed? Are you sitting getting triggered by Instagram or by email? Right, and that could be the case. There we've just reduced the margin of error when it comes to holistic stuff. So that straight away just gets the client to go, right, all I'm doing here is just chipping away. And straight away, the expectation isn't too much. They don't feel overwhelmed by 10,000 steps, 1,900 calories, 3 by 200 calories on the Stairmaster, right? All this stuff, and watch 5 VIP site videos. And whereas we just go, let's just get a bit better from where you are at currently right now. And all we do is just improve. And then if things are stalling, we need to reduce it even more, because let me see pictures of your food. Yeah, you've misread the package instructions. You're now having 150 gram of fucking like cooked spaghetti or whatever, or uncooked spaghetti instead of cooked. So you can see that's us just chipping away. And it takes the general population client to stop feeling so overwhelmed and just realize that each wee chip away to do is going to add up to massive results eventually once the margin is reduced. So I'd say that's the biggest thing to think of. I think the next thing is just being surrounded, mate. Environment when it comes to a 12-week transformation is key, man. Like, I know that you guys in the photo shoot were literally buzzing every other week. They probably had really down days, but they were able to dip into that WhatsApp group chat or Voxer or Facebook and go, guys, I'm having a bit of a down day. And the other ones would be like, look, it's for 6 weeks to go. You look amazing. Trust me. You had a bad check-in because you felt a bit rubbish, but we've got 6 weeks. We'll all be on the beach. We're going to feel great. So environment's crucial, mate. Again, I'm not plugging coaching here. I feel sorry for anybody who doesn't have that round about them with the diet. It's so hard, even with a community of people round about you. Yeah. Can you imagine like learning Spanish and not being part of something that helps that? Like, do you know what I mean? It's because that's what it's like to some people. Fitness is alien to them.
Yeah.
So imagine being able to dip into your community group or a group of people who are on a fat loss journey, who are 20 to 40, who have kids, who are female, and going, guys, I've just checked in with Chris. I've said to him, I felt dead hormonal, bloated. The pictures, I'm like a whale because I literally balloon up when I'm taking photos when I'm in my time of the month. I just feel shit. And then you pipe in, next thing you know, you get 30 comments back. Like, look, it's just a check-in. It's just, this is what it's like. The bloat will be reduced in a couple of days. Hang tight. Make a fake away if your cravings are high. Have a couple of, move your calories about so you can, bank some calories so you can just go all out and just make yourself feel better. All these kind of things. So when you start a 12-week transformation journey, have a really supportive coach, and hopefully they'll put you in touch and have a community of people that, because let's face it, us as coaches can be relatable. We get it. We've been there. But there's nothing quite like people around about you who are in the middle of it and who are very similar 100%. Body fat, very similar muscle mass. So that was the second thing, mate. Third thing I think is not comparing yourself, mate. Like, I know it's cliche and I know we're harping on about it, but when you come into somebody like Oren's group and you see a girl who's done 2 photo shoots with him, like, in your general population, just in the door with no muscle mass and not trained, like, take that as inspiration. Like, this person's at F in their journey, you're at A, and that's okay. But that person was also at A. So take it as motivation. I always say that the same things that can motivate you can also demotivate you. So you might see Oren or one of my clients up on Instagram, and you might go, he shares her quite a lot. I really like her. Like, she's got a similar figure to me, or she did in the left picture. He also alluded to the fact that she was a mother, which is great. And then one Monday, you could click on it and she could be there again, and it could demotivate you because you're not where you want to be, and it can make you feel worse. So that comparison thing can be powerful, and it can be great for motivating you, but it can also have the negative effect. So just start to create like a bit of an objective mindset with it, and just look at it as for what it is. Look, sometimes you get clients, and you'll be the same, Oren, where they compare themselves to another client who you've coached for two and a bit years, even one-to-one, and you're like, you're online and I've never met you, and you're 6 weeks in the door. Like, that's actually silly to act like that. You've got to be objective with your thinking, and that will come from people just keeping you in line, your coach keeping you on track, as well as a community. So comparison would be the third one, mate, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't know why this came into my head as you said that, but I thought I'd put it into something relatable. It's like going to one acting class and expecting to be fucking Brad Pitt, right? Like, why can't I earn the same as Brad Pitt? I went to this acting class. Like, you're on a different journey. You're at the first step, right? Versus like fucking earning the millions. So, I think everything you said there to round up has been absolutely spot on. There's so much that we can dive into, mate, but I think that's just a great place to finish it up, mate. So thank you for that. I just wanted to thank you for your time. First repeat guest, like I said, it's been epic. So we could talk for hours literally on these topics. We've probably been talking for about an hour and a half now total since we first jumped on. So I really just appreciate it. I thank you for coming on. And guys, if you want to follow Chris, he's got his own podcast. Chris, can you just give guys details about how to find you on Instagram, where the podcast is, and different things like that?
Yeah, guys, it's the Glasgow PT, and it's the Glasgow PT podcast. So you'll find me on Instagram and Spotify and podcast, Apple, iTunes and stuff. So I'll probably swear a wee bit more on my one, just because I'm liable for it. But so thanks for listening. Big ol' thanks for having me, mate. It's always a pleasure, buddy. Yeah,
absolutely, mate. And no doubt there will be another repeat episode at some stage this year, or again, maybe this will be a yearly thing. Every year will be like, right, cool.
Yeah, mate.
Get our annual podcast, give the guys what they want, right? But guys, if you had any feedback on this, please fire it up in your story. If you've enjoyed it, tag me, tag Chris at the Glasgow PT. If you liked anything in particular with this topic that you think would be a good topic for future ones, please reach out and just tell me what it is so I can put more of this in. But we do have some killer guests lined up, plus some solo stuff, so keep your eye out for that. But Chris, thanks again for your time, buddy, and you have a great day.
Thanks, big man. Cheers for listening, guys.
Buddy.
Thanks for listening to The O Show with your host, Oren McCory. If you liked this episode, then please subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening and share this on your social media. We'll see you on the next episode for more no-nonsense advice to help you supercharge your efforts in the gym, in the kitchen, and most importantly, in your head. See you then.